1, 2, 3, 4.
All right, and welcome back to It's Not a Sport, Season 3, Episode 6. So, this week, not a whole lot of news. It was a relatively slow week, but we did get a really big announcement. But before we get into that, we're going to get into esports, which there is no esports because right now everyone is in the off season. So, it's there's been some esports drama, definitely a lot of kind of trades. I guess like if you really want to know, there's some. I guess this is valid since this week's episode is about Valorant, of course. League of Legends drama and drama with Riot really in the game. A lot of people since the Void Boy video about a couple weeks ago about toxicity. A lot of people have been called out for being toxic, and then there was some TSM drama as well. So there's some, I guess, kind of low key, kind of League of Legends drama and esports stuff going on right now with just how the community, but that's overall the game. Um, it was only a matter of time until this problem kind of showed its head, but I'm happy that now it is, because it is very frustrating, and the game has been in a very bad state for a very long time. But I honestly believe that is because they took all their good developers and all their good heads, and they told them work on Valorant or work on their other games, and that's why League has kind of fallen to the state it is. Now, that's kind of the way. Instead of esports news, you got your esports drama. Let's talk about some of the announcements. So we're gonna go into game releases. Right now, we had not a whole lot of big game releases. Jet Laser, Pixel Ripple 1999, SpongeBob, Krusty Cook-Off, Star Wars Episode 1 Racer. Uh, it's just kind of small, kind of cool titles. Tetris Effect Quest it came out. The Culling Origins. The Elder Scroll Blades on the Xbox. Oh no, my bad. On the Switch. So a lot of small kind of titles. We have Mafia 2 Definitive Edition coming out soon. A game called Never Song. Sort of online game. Minecraft Dungeons is supposed to be released at the end of this month, as well as the next Elder Scrolls Online expansion, the BioShock and Borderlands collection for the Switch, as well as XCOM 2, and the Xenoblade Chronicles Definitive Edition. So really this month, again, I said it last week, it's very, 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 very slow. We won't really see anything until we'll probably see one big release in June, and then we won't see anything until like September. So it's a very slow year. It's going to be a slow year because of COVID. Um, the way I see it is that right now, if you're a game developer and if you have your game out there already, then you're golden, especially if it's a games as a service model. But if you're in development right now, then you're kind of screwed. So that's that. So let's get into some news. Tony Hawk Pro Skater remakes were announced. Uh, that's cool. You know, if you played those games really back in the day on the PS2, those are out. There's been like some reportings on how Ninja has affected Mixer over and in sport. Of course, with this pandemic, a lot of people are watching Twitch and streams more often, and Mixer's actually fallen down. It hasn't really grown too much. So we'll see what that goes. Amazon, or my bad, Microsoft may axe Mixer as a whole because it's failing them, and it's probably a loss of money, but who knows. Paper Mario, the Origami King was announced for the Switch. A cool new little Paper Mario game. So you can look forward to that. But the biggest announcement came out of a Summer Games stream which will be the topic of next week's show, since that's replacing E3, is Unreal Engine 5 was announced. So Epic Unreal Engine 5, and if you haven't seen the tech demo, it looks amazing. It looks really good, and I think this is going to be a huge game changer for the industry overall to just have such a powerful engine be able to produce that level of quality of graphics, because they were saying that's what it looks like when they do the movies, because of the movies they don't have to render things and update things in real time in every frame. Like that's how the Mandalorian, if you didn't know, was done in Unreal Engine. And now that they are able to push that and able to do it as a game running on a PlayStation 5 is incredible. I just started learning Unreal Engine 4, and just being able to see this is it's very exciting for me. I think that this will change a lot and push technology forward, and we can get better looking games, and hopefully they'll be a lot easier to make on developers, because right now, like it's good, but it's better when you see it better. There was controversy about load times. If you didn't know, there's a secret technique. Whenever you go into like a shimmy hallway, you gotta shimmy somewhere, or in an elevator, it's a secret way of disguising the game from loading. It's loading in the background. When you're in the elevator, you're just in a box, and in the background, it's actually loading the level. It gives you an illusion that you're moving. Same when you go in those shimmy spots, it's just this hidden load screen, and this technique's been in the game industry for a while now to get rid of load screens. You see them all over in Jedi Fallen Order. That game has a lot of them. And in the tech demo, there was one of them, and they said that people were saying, "Hey, is that a load screen?" But it isn't. They said that it isn't. Epic defended that it isn't. But it's really cool to see this. This is kind of Unreal Engine 5. If you really think about it, is the fruit of Fortnite. And when Fortnite came out, they're making a shit ton of money. So Epic just hired programmers to just build Unreal Engine 5, and they built the Epic Game Store. And we really, it's this is kind of also the good stuff that came out of Fortnite. So I know I've talked about this a little bit probably than I should, but go watch the tech demo. It's really cool. And if you ever want to start making games or start learning like things now, I think now is the time, because they did say that this is going to be free. They're going to put up tutorial videos just like they did with Unreal Engine 4 when it came out. And probably the coolest thing about this is your first million in royalties are free. So basically what that means is that until your game in Unreal Engine makes $1 million, you don't have to pay Epic anything, which is really nice for indie developers. Really nice. So anyway, let's move on to our main talk. We're talking about Valorant, Riot's new first-person shooter, or Project A. Let's get into that talk right now. All right, so this week, let's talk about a new game that's kind of stormed the gaming scene. It's changed up a lot of things in the first-person shooter or tactical shooter industry, and of course, I'm talking about Valorant. So I actually got the chance to get a key, and I've been playing in the closed beta for about a week now. And I just want to share my thoughts on it compared to CSGO. I did play CSGO very religiously at one point in time, and now I'm kind of playing Valorant one point religiously right now. So I want to give some comparisons, my thoughts, the problems, and where I think it was going to go. But first, I want to start about how Riot really grew this game and marketed it to take away the players that are really committed to CS:GO. Because for years now, the only tactical shooter that was really available is Counter Strike. And then we saw within this decade, we saw Rainbow Six kind of come up. And that kind of took away a huge chunk of the market as well. And now Riot is throwing their hat in the ring with Valorant. And well, they have these two big um, games that hold up a majority of the pie, right? So how is Valorant going to get in? So the first thing that they did was the Twitch streams and how they got out the closed beta keys. And this was both genius on their part and terrible on their part. So what they did was you had to watch a Twitch stream. So they partnered with Twitch and they said if you watch 2 hours or any amount of basically 2 hours minimum of any official Valorant stream, you have a chance to get a key. Now, what did this do? Well, it got eyes on the game because people wanted to try it out and they wanted to get their keys. So they started watching streamers. It grew a lot of streamers, and big ones and small ones. So now they got eyes on them as well as the game that they're playing. So it kind of grew and blew up in this miraculous way because of how Riot decided to market this and tackle this game. But there was a downside. The downside would be that we saw on Twitch now that they were like VODs. People started streaming 24/7 VODs of them playing Valorant because people all really want is the key. The key is the incentive to watch the stream in the game, not really the game and the gameplay itself, but the stream or the key, because people are watching the stream in order to get their key. So it kind of backfired. It worked both ways, where it blew up and Valorant got the eyes that it needed to kind of grow, but it also created this kind of bad way of streaming so they could get keys in the VODs. Eventually, Twitch did crack down on this. It took them longer than it probably should have, but it did happen. So that was a very good overall move by Riot. The first big move that I think kind of pushed Valorant into its spotlight. The second move is the gunplay and the balance. The balance of the game, and this is where Riot, specializes, is balance, because they've been balancing League of Legends for years and they've done horrible jobs and they've done good jobs. And they really took the time in to think about the balance of Valorant. And overall, the balance of the game, it feels pretty nice. None of the guns feel overly busted. Nothing, really is game changer. There are meta picks, of course, because you have to have certain characters because they have certain abilities on your team. And that's only the downside right now. Because a lot of abilities are a lot stronger than, let's say, grenades in Counter-Strike. Like, they're really strong and they can be really oppressive if chained correctly. So that's one kind of downside. But I think that with time, when they add more characters to the game, hopefully they don't get to the point of League of Legends, because I think that's the problem with League of Legends, is that there's way too many characters in the game right now. But the solid 10 agent pool that they have right now, and if they bring that up a little bit more over time, maybe to like Overwatch's amount of characters, then we can see a lot of meta picks kind of like flesh out. Because right now, I think there's only like there's a certain team comp you want, and like out of the 10 agents that are available, a majority of them fit that team comp, but there's like 3 that aren't so good, or just kind of lower, maybe 4 that you just don't really want. So I think balance overall, they've done a great job, and that's why I think people like it a lot, is because it feels nice. Nothing feels really broken. But then that leads us over to the weakest side for Valorant for me. Why the game, I think, is failing right now. and why this will really make or break the game overall is the map design. So, of course, to be expected, the map design is going to be Riot's weakest point because they've been using the same map in League of Legends for eternity. The game is about 10 years old now, and they've been using this exact same map and the exact same design for 10 years now. So, of course, when they go into a game that revolves around how the map plays out and how first person shooting works and those mechanics, one of them's going to fail. And the map definitely failed. All these maps, the three that they have, being Haven, Split, and Havana, I think is the last one. They are all terrible in my opinion. If you play CSGO when it was in its prime was when the maps were at the finest. Then they started updating and they started changing them a lot. And that's when the game kind of went downhill. Now we look at Valorant, and the first thing you realize compared to these CS:GO maps is they're really bad. Like there's so many corners that you have to check, peeking in to any room, and the only areas that really matter is the bomb site. Those are the only areas that feel good. But like taking control of any other area, it's really difficult, and it's really difficult to control the map because compared to CS:GO. CS:GO has nice areas. They have open areas with a nice cover, and you don't feel like you have to check. There's so many T-shaped hallways in Valorant where if you go down one hallway, you have to, if you're checking a corner, you either check the right or the left, and you don't know which side he's going to be in. If you check the left, maybe he's there, but he may not be there. You get shot in the back of the head. You check the right, maybe he's there. Maybe he may not be on the left side. You get shot in the back of the head. So there's so many scenarios like that, and then there's so many hallways where you go down and they just put a box in the middle, just to put some cover, or a little cubby in on the side. So the map design overall is really, really, really bad. And I think they need to fix that and go back to kind of making these maps more fleshed out, making them a little bigger. I think on Havana, there's on CT spawn between where you go to hookah and you go to site A and B, there's just like this weird kind of crevice. There's CT spawn that you only rotate through. But if you look at maps like Dust 2, CT spawn in Dust 2 is actually a playable area. It's not there just for rotation. It's there for, people can actually go under there to B or to A, and take that site and control it. It's an actual area that needs to be controlled and considered. But in Valorant, a lot of the spawns are just like there. Once you're out of the spawn, you never go back. It's waste of space. It's useless. And then a lot of other pushing into Valorant sites, it's very difficult. I feel like on attacking. Attacking is very hard on pretty much every site, but I think Havana with the 3 bomb sites, it's very hard because most of the sites when you're pushing in are just long ass hallways with maybe like one little box that they can shoot through, they can wallbang you through, or a cubby, and it's very hard to push through those. Which is why I think now we go into this weird kind of realm with the map design, which trickles down to now abilities. Because now we go into abilities, and even to get through those hallways, you have to have those characters that can put smokes down. You have to have Sage that can put a wall down, that can provide cover, because the maps to push through those choke points are incredibly hard just because how they're designed, and incredibly awkward as well to get onto bomb site. Once you place the bomb and you're playing in those areas, it's good. But there's so many corners, it's really hard to push into a bomb site on attacking, or just defend it in general if they kind of rush it, which is why these champions, we see these agents and these team comps showing their head. And then I think this also may have to do with barriers, spawn barriers. It's really odd that they chose to have spawn barriers, because in CSGO you don't have that. In CSGO, you have a buy phase, you buy, and then once you're done, you have enough time to rotate into your spot and they have enough time to push you. You have enough time. But in this game, you can't. And now there's these spawn barriers, which feel really weird because they're also really kind of close to each other. Like, you don't have time to really prepare yourself. Maybe I think it was how like abilities kind of broke the game in a way, and maybe they have to add spawn barriers. But again, that's just a kind of a poor decision in map design. You really feel it when you play the game. But overall, the game itself feels really nice. Between the balance and the abilities, I don't feel frustrated. Yes, I think the shooting patterns, especially with the Vandal, takes a lot of work to get used to because these shooting patterns have bloom on them a lot more compared to CS:GO. But other than that, and that's my only really balance issue. Other than that, balance feels really nice. It's just the maps that need work. The maps are really bad right now. And, these are the first three maps, and I'm 100% sure that Riot level designers, I don't know if they hired level designers to actually build these maps, or they just like, you want to build a level to one of their designers, and they're like, sure, even though at that company they've never built an actual level before in their history of existence. So it was overall, Valorant's a really nice game. I think it's definitely worth checking out when it hits everybody's uh, when it goes free to play this summer. I assume that they're probably going to launch it relatively soon since the closed beta's been in a nice state. There's been some bugs. People have discovered some new kind of movement tricks. There's been a controversy. The only big controversy right now, I think, would be with solo queue and duo queue versus their dynamic queue, which if you follow league history, when dynamic queue was a thing, which means that you could be a solo player and queue against a 5 stack, it was awful. It was terrible. And they decided to do the same thing with Valorant. So overall, with that rank consideration, we're not adding a solo queue or a duo queue, and these map designs, it's a great game. And I definitely think it's worth checking out when it comes out. I hope you enjoyed this week's episode of It's Not a Sport. If you want to listen to all of our previous shows and previous seasons, they are all up on our YouTube channel. Make sure to follow us on our Instagram, It's Not a Sport to You. We upload our show each week on our SoundCloud, and you can also find that on our website, itsnotasport.com. This has been your host, Salty Waffles, signing off, and I hope you guys are having a wonderful climb.